Bharatam Mahabharatam Dharma Adharma Sangharshanam Pakshi Prani Manava Cha Deva Dharma Adharma Panchalika Jnana Prabhasita Divya Jivam Sarve Sarva Mahamritam Sarve Sarva Mahamritam Bharatam Pandavas, the five brothers, have grown up well in the forest, wilderness, being one of the best teachers that man has ever found. One who grows up with the right kind of guidance exposed to wilderness, gets the best education that a man can ever get. You know why we placed the ashram next to the forest? Just in case you're missing the point. So Pandavas grew up with sages and seers taking care of their education, but above all, Mother Nature taking care of their wisdom and strength. Grown up very strong, patient, wise, well-versed in the art of weaponry. Pandu, who was cursed, never to approach his wives, who arranged for his wives to bear children through other means. He involved himself with the sages and saints, pursued knowledge, practiced the sadhana of brahmacharya, became a powerful being. One day, when he came out of the forest and approached the river, at the river, in the seclusion of the forest, Madri, his second wife, had just bathed in the river and she came out. When he saw her in that state of nakedness, he was drawn to her, and beyond himself, the 16 years of control he lost and he went for her. She did everything possible to resist because she knew about the curse, he knew about the curse, but destiny drew him on and he died in her arms. And she screamed in terror. Terror not of just having her husband dead, but knowing the fact that she killed him. So Kunti, who heard these screams, rushed to the place, and when she saw this, she flew into a rage. Though different types of emotions simmered, never they found expression between these two wives. But today it found full expression. All kinds of things were said which were never said for all these years. And then, after emotions ran their full course, Kunti calmed down to the cold purpose of where her children's destiny is. And Madri, out of sheer guilt and suffering, she chose to enter the funeral pyre, and she believed that she had to accompany her husband. So for some time, there was a little bit of a competition as to who should go. Both of them want to go. But knowing Kunti, it was a little bit of a mock competition. When I say, I want to go, you want to go, then I'll let you go. She became perfectly ruthless from that moment onwards, doing everything that is needed. As a queen would do, not as a woman would do. Just as a queen would do, became 100% cold to the destiny of where her children should go. And now, accompanied by the rishis, the 5 Pandavas and Kunti walked towards Hastinapur after little over 16 years. The news went to Hastinapur, the capital of the Kuru kingdom, and a wave of jealousy and hatred spread over Duryodhana because these long-lost cousins are coming back. And a young man who has grown up believing that he will be the king, suddenly has competition which he does not appreciate at all. Suddenly there is somebody else who seems to be legally the correct heir for the kingdom. Though right from his childhood he has grown up as the king's firstborn, and he has believed that he is the king. He is the future king. He is already the king in many ways because his father is blind, blind of vision and blind of emotion towards his son. So he's been used to having his way with everything. But now this new competition that's coming is something that he cannot tolerate. Even before he sees the Pandavas, his emotions are fully up. He's already started working. Working up his more insipid brothers who are innocent of such jealousy and hatred, and also incompetent of the necessary fire to rule a nation. So he's firing them up. One whom he finds most suitable is Dushyasana. He's the number 2 among the 100 brothers. So both of them are fully charged even before they arrive. The news of their arrival reached the city, and people out of curiosity and love, because in their minds, they had loved Pandu as their king. Though he was not officially coronated as king, he was the king for all practical purposes. He was the one who brought wealth to the nation. He was the one who conquered lands for them. He was the one who administered them. For 16 years, he was on a self-imposed exile, and now he is dead, and his children that they had never seen are coming back is one big excitement, the whole citizenry gathered. The Pandavas, along with their mother Kunti, approached the city, and a cry rose from the crowd. When they saw these young boys coming, sons of their dead king, whom they had never set their eyes upon, who grew up in the jungle, strong and larger than men would be if they grew up in a palace. The 100 brothers, Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, his wife, Bhishma, Vidura, and all the elders gathered at the gates of the city to welcome them. Dhritarashtra, who right from his childhood had heavily depended upon Pandu to see the world and to be helped, never to compete with him, always to be treated with compassion by his younger brother, was in a confused state of emotion. He believed that he loved his brother, but suddenly he could not understand the emotions that he was going through, because now he also knew that his children will not be kings. So he was confused. I thought I loved my brother, but what is this happening within me? And they were welcomed. The necessary ritual that was needed for Pandu post his passing were done, and the moment these boys entered the palace, an untold destiny started unfolding itself, particularly between Bhima and Duryodhana, because these two boys were the strongest of the lot. Bhima was built like a giant. Duryodhana pretty well matched him in physical strength. And Bhima was so excited being in a palace for the first time in his life. The bubbling, blundering simpleton that he was all over the place, poking fun at everybody, making practical jokes of people, and at every opportunity trouncing and thrashing every one of the Kaurava brothers, including Duryodhana. The first official beginning of their hatred happened when both of them got into the wrestling ring. Duryodhana was absolute belief that nobody can ever down him in a wrestling ring. He was the strongest among the 100 brothers, and nobody else of his age could take him in the wrestling ring. So, when he saw Bhima is having victory after victory and he's endearing himself to everybody, everybody seems to love him except himself, he thought the best thing to put him in place was to invite him into a wrestling match where everybody of the family, it's a large family, mind you, the whole family and the palace gathered, just a friendly match. It was a friendly match for others, but it was a fight to death for these two. Without even a mock of a fight, Bhima put him down in moments, and Duryodhana was shattered by this. He could not believe that somebody could actually take him down in the wrestling ring. The shame of it inflamed his anger and hatred to such a point that it was no more concealable. It was wide open, officially on hatred. It could not be contained or concealed anymore. It was simply on all over the place. Duryodhana started plotting against Bhima's life. In the meantime, Shakuni, his uncle, entered the palace as an advisor, as a minister. You should know something about Shakuni as to how he became a Shakuni. Because today, in India, if you utter the word Shakuni, nobody thinks it's a name, it is a quality of deceit, a slime ball of a man. But how does somebody become a slime ball? Shakuni is Gandhari's brother. When Gandhari was married to Dhritarashtra, when the marriage party came to Hastinapur, and after the marriage is over, Bhishma realized that Gandhari is technically a widow. And people started talking, the king has married a widow. Technically, she married a goat, you remember. So, Bhishma got so angry that the Kuru clan has been deceived like this. So he put Gandhari's father and all her brothers under house imprisonment. Kind of too much hospitality, where somebody even closes the door and opens the door for you, or rather doesn't open it for you, just closes it for you. Just made to feel like guests, not made to feel like prisoners, just guests. But you know, like the Hotel California, that kind of guests. The law or the dharma of the day was such, the bride's family, when it comes for the first time to the house into which the girl is married, as long as they're being well treated, they cannot walk away. So they were being served, and slowly the quantum of food kept on receding, but they're still being served. So they cannot leave, they cannot say, we want to go, because they're still being served. But the quantum of food kept on receding to a point where it just became a morsel a person. So slowly, they all started depleting because there's not enough food, but they're being served, great hospitality. It is like, you know, today if you go to the large hotels, a huge amount of cutlery comes, but if you open it, the food is only this much. So that kind of hospitality, but they're still technically being served, so they cannot go away. After some time, everybody became all bones, the father and all the brothers. Then among themselves they decided, if we live like this, it's obvious they want to kill us. But they're still serving us, we can't leave, this is our dharma. We can't go away, our daughter is here. So among themselves they decided, let us fast, all of us, let one of us who is the most intelligent eat all the food and survive and take revenge on these people who are killing us softly. So among themselves, all of them decided to fast themselves to death and gave all their food to Shakuni. So as his brothers and his father were dying, Shakuni ate the food in front of them. As his brothers died one by one, it is said his father encouraged him to eat the organs of his brothers so that he becomes strong and lives. But as the brothers die, with a single purpose that when it is time he must go out and take revenge. So he can leave. When his father dies, he has to do karma for him, for the dead father. At that time he can say, I want to leave. because my father is dead, I have to do karma in my land. So father said, when I die, you can leave. Till then you eat the organs of your brothers. So he sat there, cut open their bodies, ate up their livers and kidneys and hearts and lived strong. Then the time of his father came. Then the father took from the bed in which he was lying down, dying, he took his walking stick and whacked Shakuni on his ankle and cracked it. Shakuni screamed in pain and asked why. His father said, I have broken your leg so that you always limp and never forget why you were fed. Why you were fed with your brothers' bodies. You never forget, every time you limp, you know why you're limping, and you must live for revenge and revenge only. And his father died, and Shakuni left with a single purpose of destroying the Kuru house. And he came back as their minister, and he found appreciation and friendship with Duryodhana. Duryodhana thought he is the most brilliant advisor because Shakuni always had a way with everything. And when his father died, he said, when I die, you cut my fingers, you take my fingers and make dice out of this. You know, the rolling dice. And with the necessary occult power, I will make sure these dice roll just the way you want it. Nobody can ever beat you in a dice game, and this will come in handy for you someday. So he cut the fingers of his father, made dice out of it and kept it with him. Armed with these dice, he went out to conquer the world. He was not a fighting man, he was plump of body, soft, but he was armed with his occult power dice, that with this he believed that he's going to conquer the world. He found favor with Duryodhana because Duryodhana's emotions were poisoned with hatred and jealousy, and Shakuni had enough ways to nourish poison, and he nourished this continuously. Duryodhana is an angry man, not very deceitful. He will burst out with his emotions, he will speak out his heart. In fact, his heart is hanging out too often for a king. So when Duryodhana spoke like this, just for you to understand the mindset of Shakuni, when Duryodhana speaks out in front of his father, expressing himself, Shakuni tells him, Duryodhana, God gave speech to man not to express himself, but to hide what is in his mind. That is Shakuni. So with this kind, he nurtured the poison in Duryodhana's heart and made sure every cell in Duryodhana's heart, in his body became venomous. What was in one place, he made sure every cell in his body became venomous. He continuously nurtured this. Now, Shakuni told Duryodhana, there is no point. If you have an enemy, pinching him, biting him, spitting on him, this is all ways of the fools. The moment you recognize somebody as your enemy, you just kill him. Anything short of that is the way of the stupid. Because if you pinch your enemy, if you abuse your enemy, if you do this and that with your enemy will grow stronger. Your enemy's heart will become stronger, and probably you will be the one who will die, not him. The moment you recognize somebody as your enemy, you must end him. So Duryodhana asked, how? How do I kill my cousin brother? in the palace. Shakuni gave him various plans. Duryodhana comes in front of Dhritarashtra and says openly in front of his father, "Any number of times I tried to murder Bhima, but somehow he's getting away." Dhritarashtra gasped. Within the palace, two brothers are trying to kill each other, they're just 16 years of age. He knew what is coming and he knew who should die. So one day, Shakuni advised him, "This is not working. It's best we shift the scene of assassination outside the palace where there is more freedom to do what we want to do. Inside the palace, you're trying to get him in subtle ways, but your cousin is too much of a bull. You can't kill him in subtle ways." Shakuni told him, "Your speech is not to express your heart. Your speech is to hide what is in your mind. Befriend Bhima. Love him. Don't wrestle with him. Hug him. Smile at him. Don't scowl at him. Befriend him. He is a fool, can't you see? You smile at him, he'll fall for it." So Duryodhana learned the art of slime. Duryodhana, a brave, fearless, no two ways kind of man, learned the art of slime from Shakuni. So now his hatred and jealousy started finding deceit. Deceit was absent in him, he was just a rage. But now he became deceitful. Step by step, Shakuni will guide him into the world of deceit. So he befriended all the five brothers, particularly Bhima, and everybody except Sahadeva fell for this. They all thought their cousin brother has really had a change of heart and he is in love with them, and they started falling all over him. Only Sahadeva kept his distance, the wisest of the lot. How he got this wisdom is Pandu, on a particular day when he was instructing his boys across a campfire in the forest, had told them, "See, these 16 years I have done sadhana, I have not just stayed away from your mothers, I have done sadhana of brahmacharya, which has given me enormous power within myself and a tremendous amount of insight and vision and wisdom. But I am not a teacher, I do not know how to transmit this to you. But the day I die, all you have to do is, you must take a piece of my flesh and eat it. If you make my flesh part of your flesh, you will have the wisdom that I have gathered, you will not have to work for it." So when Pandu suddenly died and he was cremated, everybody else in their emotions completely forgot about this. Sahadeva, the brooding youngest of the lot, was sitting there and he saw an ant carrying a small piece of Pandu's flesh. And he looked at this and he remembered what his father had said. He grabbed this little piece of flesh from the ant and ate it, and wisdom and strength grew in him. He would have become a sage among kings. But Krishna saw this wisdom would stop the flow of destiny. So Krishna intervened at some point later. I'm coming at this so that this aspect is over for you. Krishna intervened and told Sahadeva, "This is my dictate to you. You never express your wisdom. If somebody asks you a question, you always answer them with another question. You never express your wisdom in your life. This is my dictate for you." So Sahadeva always answered in questions that very few had the wisdom to understand. Those who understood saw how wise he was. Those who did not understand, they thought he's just trying to create ambiguity about everything. Because people thought he's acting wise by answering in questions, but he was following a dictate that was laid down by Krishna. Krishna said you should never answer a question, you should never reveal your wisdom to anybody. If somebody asks you something, you answer them in a question, so they don't understand that you're answering them unless they have the wisdom to grasp it. So only Sahadeva looked into Duryodhana's heart and saw pure poison. All the other four brothers were too enamored. Duryodhana showered gifts on them. The only gift that Bhima liked was food. So Duryodhana fed him as much as he wanted. Bhima, the moment food came in front of him, his gluttony was such, he forgot everything. Whoever gave him the food was his friend. He was eternally hungry, so he ate and became bigger and bigger. And one day, Duryodhana planned a picnic. Shakuni carefully laid out the plan of the picnic. So they arranged a pavilion on the riverbank in a place called Pramanakoti. So all of them went there and food was served and served in excess. Duryodhana particularly played the host to the hilt, came to every Pandava and fed them by hand, and they were overwhelmed with love, the fools. Only Sahadeva sat in a corner. Everybody else ate and splurged. And then the dessert was served. If a plateful of something was served for everyone, a similar quantum of food was served for Bhima separately. So when the dessert went around, a full plate of dessert went to Bhima, which was poisoned with a certain type of venom, which would slowly take effect. And Bhima ate a whole plateful of this sweet, and they all went out to swim in the river. They all swam, boys playing around, everything. Then Bhima came on the bank and sank. Everybody else went back to the pavilion for their fun and stories and things. Duryodhana led them back, came back and saw Bhima was fast asleep, almost semi-conscious. Then he tied up his hands and legs and rolled him into the river. Bhima sank. He sank into a place which was full of venomous snakes, and all of them came and bit him hundreds of times. And the venom that he had already taken in, and this venom acted as an antidote for him. It is very common knowledge that in Siddha Vaidya in South India, venom is treated with venom. As you know, modern medicine also has started using similar things, that if you have a certain virus, you're treated with the same infection. You know Edward Jenner and the stuff. So, when these hundreds of snake bites happened, it started working as an antidote and slowly he revived. And from there, when they saw the snake bites revived him, they took him as one of them. The king of the Nagas took him aside, saw this boy who was the son of Vayu, and told him, "See, you have been poisoned like this. Fortunately, they rolled you into the river. If they had just left you there, you would be dead. But this is the way of deceit, it will try to overdo things. If they had just left him there, he would have died, but they're not happy with that. They don't want to take a chance, so he rolled him into the river and did just the opposite. Now we take you as one of us, so we will give you an elixir which nobody else knows except in this part of the world." And they prepared an elixir which is a combination of various types of venoms and mercury and certain types of herbs, which is in South India today known as Navapashana, or the 9 forms of deadly poisons which is used as medicine. Preparing Navapashana or preparing this kind of elixir needs extraordinary care, that 1 drop of something more or 1 drop less of something could kill the man. So they carefully prepared this and they gave it to him so that he became an indomitable human being, that his strength rose to almost superhuman levels because of consumption of this elixir. By then, when they saw Bhima is missing, the other 4 brothers got distraught and now they realize they've been conned, but they cannot openly express because Duryodhana is heartbroken. He's learned the art from Shakuni. He's heartbroken, he is running all over the place looking for Bhima. Where is he, my brother, my love, my beloved brother, my only companion, crying all over the place. But Sahadeva said, they have done him in. So the 4 brothers went back home in utter shame, being taken in by gifts and food and nonsense, and now they've lost their brother. They went back to the mother and they told Kunti what happened. Kunti sat down in meditation and sank into it for about 3 days. Then she said, my son is not dead. Look for him. These 4 brothers and their friends searched the forest, dived into the river, looked here, looked there. They found him nowhere. Then they gave up. Then Kunti thought maybe her vision is wrong, and then they prepared for the 14th day ceremony for Bhima. They are doing the ritual for his post-death. And Duryodhana is all tears and arranging for a big ceremony. For such a big man who died, he needs a big ceremony. Hired cooks and preparing a huge meal. In his heart it's a celebration, but on the outside it is mourning. He is completely learning. He is doing well with Shakuni's tutelage. A man who was pure rage has become rage and enormous deceit. The vegetables were being cut, all kinds of vegetables, to prepare a big feast on the 14th day, which is the normal thing in this country. To break the mourning, people feast and come out of it on the 14th day. And Bhima walked back to the palace. To the joy of his brothers and mother, and Duryodhana and his brothers could not believe, and above all, Shakuni was in terror. He did not know whether this is real or he is a ghost. Bhima is just about ready to go on a rampage. Then Vidura comes in and advises them, this is not the time to bring out your enmity into the open. If it comes into the open, they are still trying to kill you by deceit. That means they are still trying to do this undercover, which means you still have some safe room. If you blow this cover, then they'll outright go and kill you in the palace. They will bring their soldiers and kill you. Right now they're trying to poison you, they're trying to assassinate you, but if you bring it out into the open, they will just kill you openly. So don't bring it into the open now. You are just 5, they are 100 plus a whole army of soldiers. So they contain their rage. But Bhima, after these 14 days of being in the Nagaloka, elixir had made him strong, but it had also made him enormously hungry. When he saw a big meal was about to get ready and everybody abandoned cooking because the man came back, there is no more feast. He said, this is not it. And he went there and because he did not know much cooking at that time, he put all the vegetables together and cooked the dish. In the Aryan culture, it is a norm that certain vegetables are not mixed, but he put all the vegetables together and made a dish, which even today is one of the favorites in one part of South India called avial. Avial means mixture. He put every kind of vegetable and prepared avial. People are still eating avial. Everything that was there in the kitchen, he put it all in one cauldron and cooked it, and today you think it's a great dish. So this continued. Their enmity grew. Now the five brothers were on total guard and they start building their own defenses, their own people inside the palace. Till now, they did not understand the intrigue of living in the palace. They thought they were just boys. But now, they were fighting for a kingdom. It is no more boyish fight. In the meantime, Drona, the son of Bharatavaja, who was also the disciple of his father Bharatavaja, born in a conch shell, not born to a woman. He was conceived in a conch shell. Because of this, he was called Drona. And because of this, it was said, no man can kill him unless he is sitting or lying down, eyes closed. If his eyes are open, nobody can kill him. He learned the art of archery and other martial arts from his father Bharatavaja, and then went to Parashurama, the great sage, the angry sage, if you still remember, who took a vow against all Kshatriyas to end their clans and who killed hundreds and hundreds of Kshatriya kings to revenge for what had happened to him and his family in the past. So he went to Parashurama. When Parashurama had turned old and he wanted to give away all his arms. When I say arms, these are astras. This is a kind of weaponry which is charged with occult powers. Every astra has a mantra attached to it. So because he had kind of become old and given up his fighting times, so he wanted to give away his astras to suitable people. So Drona heard about this and went there and grabbed all the astras that he could get. Parashurama puts a condition, I am giving away all the most sacred weapons to you. With this you can win the world, but you should never ever teach a Kshatriya. This is just the reverse of the normal law. You should never teach a Kshatriya anything about these things. Drona promised, but walked straight to Hastinapur and sought employment with the king to teach it to the Kshatriyas. That's the man. He's an ambitious man, full of principles but no scruples. He knows all the dharma, all the shastras, all the rules, all the scriptures, but absolutely no scruples within himself. A great teacher, but a crooked human being, given to greed. So, he came straight to Hastinapur. The brothers, the 5 and 100, all of them were training with Kripacharya, who is another teacher, who was teaching them the martial arts. One day, the boys were playing ball. The ball those days was not made of rubber or plastic or this kind, they were usually made of weeds rolled up tightly to play. Even today you will see in Danikandi, our tribal children still play with those kind of balls. They take forest weed and tightly wrapped, makes a ball and it does quite good. So they were playing with this ball and the ball accidentally fell into a well. And all of them were looking at it, but nobody had a clue how to get it out because the well was deep and there were no steps. So Drona walked in the direction, he was observing the children. Then he came and he said, are you not Kshatriyas? They said, yes. Then don't any of you know archery? Arjuna said, yes, I am an archer and I want to be the greatest archer in the world. So Drona sized him up and he said, if you're an archer, why can't you get this ball out? They asked, how can we get a ball out from a well with archery? He said, here I will show you. He plucked certain blades of bamboo or grass which were rigid enough, and he threw one after another and made a rope out of it and slowly pulled the ball out of the well. They were amazed because this was magical. He performed magic with weeds. They said, "Can you teach it to us?" He said, "I will not teach unless I'm accepted as a guru." Then they took him to Bhishma. Bhishma immediately recognized Drona, he knew who he was and he knew of his competence, and he employed him as the Raja Guru, that is the teacher for the young boys who were being raised to be kings. So the training started and competition started between the Pandavas and the Kauravas. At every point, competition started. In the lance or the spear, Yudhishthira was the best. With the mace, Bhima and Duryodhana were equal. Nobody could say who was better than whom. When they went at each other with a mace, they were like… they would fight themselves to exhaustion, but nobody could beat the other. When it came to archery, Arjuna stood out. When it came to swordsmanship and horse riding, Nakula and Sahadeva dominated. So they grew to become great warriors after a few years of training, which saw a series of competitions between them. Arjuna's only thing in his life was, he wants to be the best archer in the world. He's a heavily insecure man, a great warrior, a very withdrawn man, very disciplined, absolutely focused but terribly insecure throughout his life. Always his concern is, what if somebody becomes a better archer than me? He stretched it to such inhuman points. On a certain day, a tribal boy named Ekalavya came to Drona and expressed his wish to learn archery. He is not even an Arya, he is known as a Nishada, a particular tribe. Who are the aboriginal tribes of India? Aborigine is not the word, the indigenous tribes of India, and this boy is dark complexioned. The scriptures go about to describe him. When he walked, he was like a panther. He was so dark in his skin, dreadlocked, a graceful human being with enormous strength and a great archer. And he came to learn from Drona. Drona said, "You are not a Kshatriya, so I cannot teach you." Then he fell at Drona's feet with great humility and said, "I understand your social norm, just bless me. With your blessing I will learn." Then Drona looked at this humility and sincerity, put his hand on his head and said, "I bless you." So Ekalavya went into the forest, went to the river, took out the clay from the river, and like a madman he started working to build the form of Drona. See, if you want to be a great musician, it's not that you need a great voice, you need great ears. It's your listening quality which makes you into a musician, not your mouth. Similarly, if you want to be an archer, it's not about your hands, it is about the keenness of your eyes. How keenly can you observe something? How keenly can your attention stay on something? Arjuna displays this quality in many ways. When they're training one day, the famous story that almost everybody in India would know is, Drona wants to check their archery skills, puts up a small wooden bird on top of a tree and brings each one of them, gives them a bow and an arrow and says, "Aim at the eye of the bird." Not the bird, the eye of the bird, the little parakeet. One by one, the Kauravas and then the other Pandavas, everybody aimed. what do you see? Means, the leaves, the tree, I see the mango, I see the bird, I see this, I see the sky, everything. Drona dismisses them one by one. And then comes finally Arjuna's chance. When Drona asks, what do you see? He stands in the famous stance which is called as Adhila. In yoga we use this stance a lot because Adhila stabilizes the body. For an archer, a stable posture is most important. You hold this, if you as much as waver this much, you will be miles off your target. So he stood in the position of Adhila and looked at the bird. Drona asked, what do you see? I just see a bird's eye. He said, you are the only one who is ready for advanced training in archery. And he trained Arjuna in archery, and he later on trained Arjuna in a certain type of archery which… about shooting blind, shooting in the darkness, without seeing the target, hitting the target. So, he makes Arjuna eat his food every day in pitch dark cell. So he tells him, if you can put food into your mouth without seeing, why can't you put the arrow into the heart of your enemy without seeing him? Okay? So, Arjuna trains in all this and he believes he's the best archer. And now Ekalavya comes and takes the blessing, goes. When he comes to Drona, Drona falls in love with this boy because the way he pays attention to Drona's form. He just looks at Drona, not missing anything about him. This is the quality of an archer, that he doesn't miss anything with his eyes. Anybody who misses this and that, he will definitely miss it when he shoots. So because he took in Drona's image, he went there and created a clay image of him and bowed down to this image and started practicing with this blessing. One day, the Pandavas and the Pandavas particularly went into the forest for hunting. Their hunting dog went ahead of them. The dog started barking. They thought it has found a prey for them and they started pursuing it. Then the dog just became silent. They thought a tiger or a bear must have killed the dog and they went in search of the dog, but then the dog came back to them with 6 arrows around its mouth, clamping its mouth like this, so that it cannot bark. When they saw this, the first question that Bhima asked was, is Drona somewhere in the forest? Because nobody else can do this. Even Arjuna cannot do this, because in a split second somebody has to fire 6 arrows for it to become a clamp around the dog's mouth. Only Dronacharya can do this. Is Drona in the forest? They go looking and then they see this young boy, a strapling youth who is like a living panther, dark of skin, dreadlocked, with his arrow pointed straight at Arjuna's temple. Arjuna gasps because he knows these eyes. An eye which is focused like this will not miss, he knows that. It is not a wavering eye, because the moment Ekalavya looked like this, the 5 brothers, he knew who is the archer and he knew who he should get first. So he knew when Arjuna saw this, he recognized these eyes. These eyes are not going to miss, and he gasped. And he asked, who are you? He said, I'm Ekalavya. And Arjuna was already distraught that somebody is a better archer than him. How did you learn this? Where did you get it? You are not even a Kshatriya. He started cribbing and crying. He said, Drona is my teacher. Then Arjuna ran from that place. Leaving his 4 brothers, he ran from that place straight to where his teacher Drona was, and he cried, you promised me that I will be the greatest archer. but you have made somebody else better than me. This is not fair, you promised me. So Drona asked, what are you talking about? He said, there is this boy in the jungle who is better than me, and he says, you are his teacher, he's got your statue and he's practicing. Drona being who he is, he said, okay, I have promised you and you are important for this kingdom and I won't get my fee if you are not the best, so let me fix it. So he came into the forest, met Ekalavya. Ekalavya saw his guru, a presumed guru, he's just taken him as his guru. He thought him nothing, fell at his feet. In great ecstasy, he welcomed him and brought him flowers and fruit. But Drona had something else in his heart. He said, it's very wonderful you become a great archer, but where is my Guru Dakshina? That means, where is my fee? Unless the Guru gets his fee, he will not release him in those days to go and use what he has learnt. So where is my fees? Where is my Guru Dakshina? So Ekalavya said, whatever you ask is yours. Is that so? Drona asked. Ekalavya said, yes, master, whatever you ask is yours. Then Drona said, I want the thumb of your right hand. He's an archer. Without this, there is no archery. And he said, I want the thumb. When he was just about to take it away, when Ekalavya pulled out the sword to take off his own right thumb, for one moment, Drona held that act. Wait, he said, and looked at Arjuna whether he will relent. Arjuna looked at it just coldly, as if it's a ritual that has to be gone about with. Because though there are many wonderful qualities about Arjuna, his insecurity is the biggest thing, that he want to be the best archer on the planet. So with this thumb cut, now he was once again the best archer on the planet. So if somebody runs faster than you break their legs and you are the fastest runner. So when Karna came, Drona could not ask for his thumb because Karna is not Drona's disciple. So when Duryodhana saw there is an archer for taking, because Duryodhana's biggest concern is, among his brothers, there is no archer. He is confident one day he will beat Bhima. He is confident many of his brothers will kill Nakula and Sahadeva. He is confident they can knock down Yudhishthira one day by just giving a sermon on dharma. But he is only worried about Arjuna because there is no archer to match him. When he saw Karna and his competence, he immediately grabbed him. And Karna, walking into the palace as a king, being Duryodhana's friend, and with Shakuni and Karna's intelligence and wisdom and skill, Duryodhana's lot became much, much stronger than it ever was. Suddenly they are more competent, more focused, because Karna's intelligence and skills came into the whole array of things that they had. Now Duryodhana thought, this is time. It is time we put an end to these 5 people. And even Dhritarashtra thought, things are growing in such a way, if you allow this to grow, there will be civil war. People are arranging themselves with Pandavas and Kauravas. Loyalties are shifting here and there. Within the palace and in the city, some people are getting identified with Kauravas, some people are getting identified with Pandavas. The city is splitting into 2. If you allow this to grow, there will be a civil war. So somebody has to go. Naturally, it is not his children who will go. So he thought the Pandavas should go, but he doesn't want to say as much. Bhishma watched the whole situation with great concern because his allegiance is only to the country and already a civil war is brewing. It's in the making. It's not yet on the street, but it is in the making, in everybody's minds and hearts it is happening. Dhritarashtra took advice from the most devious of advisors, and all of them advised, it's time we put an end to Pandavas, otherwise there will be a civil war. So Shakuni came up with a plan. He said, let us send them to a holy place. You know the holiest place, where it is. There are many holy places around in the country, but the holiest place is always up there. So let us send them on a pilgrimage to a holy place. Kashi is the greatest place. And they encouraged the king. So Dhritarashtra called Yudhishthira and said, I feel because you lost your father and you have been through so much difficulty from your young age, it is good for you to visit a holy place. I want you to go to Kashi, Varanasi, and spend a year, worship Shiva, Pashupati, who is the greatest archer and the greatest warrior there's ever been. Worship him for a year and then come back, you will be fit to be a king. Already Yudhishthira has been coronated as Yuvaraj, that means he is the prince in waiting to become a king. So Yudhishthira went back to Bhishma and he said, our uncle loves us so much that he wants us to go and receive the blessings of Pashupati himself. He wants us to go to Kashi on a pilgrimage, which we would have done in our old age anyway. But he wants us because he loves us so much. He does not want us to postpone such an auspicious thing in our life to our old age. He wants us to do it right now. Bhishma did not miss the sarcasm, but ignored it, because his allegiance is to the nation and he knows civil war is brewing and he has no way to quell the Kauravas and he has no way to protect the Pandavas. So, somewhere he has accepted their moving away is the best thing to happen. So Duryodhana came and told his father, you somehow send them to Kashi, rest I will take care. From one holy place to another holy place, I will take care of that. You just send them to Kashi first. In the meantime, he planned an elaborate plan with Shakuni's help and another of his friend. They built a palace made of combustible material, covered it, plastered it with mud and painted it beautifully, but inside it was all combustible material mainly made of lac. Lac means a certain kind of wax. A wax palace, beautifully decorated, made near the entrance of Kashi for them to say a nice palace for the five brothers and the mother to stay. So the five brothers were on guard by now, they knew their lives were under threat. And Kunti particularly was like a fierce tigress, looking out for her children all the time. So Vidura came to see them off, and the Kauravas did not want to leave the Pandavas alone for a moment unguarded, so they were seeing them off with tears in their eyes. By now, Duryodhana has learned the art from Shakuni, he can cry when he wants. Shakuni could cry any time he wanted, but without an iota of emotion about anything, because he saw human speech and human expression as a way of hiding what is there in a human being, not to find expression for what a human being is. So when they were leaving, there was no room, they were walking into a trap. Vidura's spies had found out about something like this not clear. So he told them in another language, which is called as a Melicha language, which is the language of the tribals, which the Aryans normally did not know, to Yudhishthira. Only Yudhishthira and Vidura knew the language, and he said, you must understand, fire is a worse weapon than a sword, more dangerous weapon than a sword. And even as a rat protects itself from winter by burrowing, so you should. And here I am sending you this Kanakan, a Tamil man who was a miner, yes, a Tamilian man who was a miner, who came from the Dravidian culture, who was a miner because even then and even today, the maximum number of labor in mining, except today machines have come, where there are no machines, where they have to dig wells and do things, even today, Tamil people are the best in the world because they were the first among the people to start digging wells, deep open wells. At least in this country, they are the best because they dug such deep wells. Even today you will see anywhere well digging means Tamil men will be working. So Kanakan was sent with them. So they went into this palace. The palace was heavily perfumed because they didn't want the smell of inflammable material to be revealed. This heavily perfumed palace they went into, there's a whole lot of drama there, we will skip the drama. They knew something was coming, so they got Kanakan inside, and whenever they put up a guard, when Yudhishthira was walking into the palace, he noticed the moat that was dug around the palace to protect them. Not only had stakes on the outside, also had stakes inside. He thought, why stakes inside the moat, the inside lining of the moat? It looks like they don't want people who are in the palace to come out, rather than people outside the palace to get into the palace. More than protecting people in the palace, it was like preventing people in the palace to run out. So what are they planning? What are they planning? So Sahadeva sat in one corner brooding, and that little bit of ant's food he had eaten worked wonders for him. He saw the place like an ant. He just… whatever you don't know in your house, you ask an ant, he knows all those corners, nooks and other things in your house, which you may own the house that you do not know, but he knows every nook and corner of your house. So he just scratched the wall like an ant. And then when he went and told the brothers and the mother, the palace is made of lock. If it catches fire, it is just a question of a minute or two before all of us are done. So now, if they try to run away from this, they'll openly kill them on the streets. So, Kanakan was secretly digging a tunnel. And after a month-long digging, which took them to a riverbank, the tunnel, they arranged a party. By now, the spy, Duryodhana's spy who was acting as a guard, kind of relaxed because these people are eating well, laughing with him, chatting with him, they also learned the act and doing everything normally and seemed to be enjoying the palace so much. He also kind of relaxed, so they threw a party on a full moon night. By this time, Kunti had taken time off to make friendship with a Nishada woman who had 5 sons, invited them often to the palace, fed them well, took care of them, and they helped them around in the palace. And on that fateful night, they served everybody food, including the spy, and they spiked the drink. The 5 sons and the Nishada woman and the spy, they spiked all their drinks and put them to sleep, escaped through the tunnel and set fire to the palace and left through the tunnel. The spy and that tribal woman and her 5 sons were burnt to death. These people escaped through the tunnel, and Vidura had sent spies to wait for them. There's an extraordinary description in the script, in the Mahabharata, which says they got into a boat, and this is incredible. They got into a boat and there was a spy waiting with his face covered, and the boat, Bhima was looking for the oar. There was no oars in the boat. But the spy handled a few levers and the boat started humming quietly, and it just moved upstream, humming, without oars. So they were completely amazed, they did not know whether they're in reality or they're already dead. Motorboat. I don't know how the hell they imagined this, or they really had one, or they imported one, I don't know what. But this description is there. Or somebody had such fertile vision that they could see after 5,000 years somebody will make a motorboat. Or it's just a fanciful imagination. But a boat which hums by itself and self-propelled, without oars, went upstream and took them deep into the jungle. So many things happen here. One of the important things that happen is one day a Rakshasa, a wild man who is almost on the edge of being a beast, who is cannibalistic, sees these five brothers and the mother and wants to eat them up. Anyway, when they leave the palace and the whole town comes and mourns, and in Hastinapur, Dhritarashtra will act out grief. Duryodhana will not eat for 3 days in public but eats in private. And everybody goes into mourning, and big mournings are held, prayer meetings are held, everything is done, making it appropriate that it was accidental. Not knowing that the brothers have escaped, because the bodies of this Nishada woman and her sons make it look like the Pandavas and Kunti have died. So their tracks well covered, they are in the jungle, and when Kanakan comes and sees the bodies of this Nishada woman and her 5 sons, the thought that passes through his mind is, will ever Kunti and her 5 sons be absolved of this crime? Kunti is cold of purpose, because if she did not leave those dead bodies, they will pursue them. Now that their plot has been revealed, they will pursue them wildly and hunt them down. So she had to leave 6 dead bodies, and she has no qualms about doing that. So in the forest, this beast of a man who is cannibalistic attacks and wants to eat them, but instead of that, Bhima kills him in one big fight, and his sister, his name is Hidamba, and his sister Hidambi falls in love with Bhima. Then Bhima trims her hair and gives her a waxing, makes her look attractive, falls in love with her and marries her. She's a forest creature. He civilizes her a little bit and he wants to marry her. He's lusting for her, but he's feeling little guilty because his elder brother is not yet married. So Yudhishthira frees him. He says, yes, the convention says the elder brother should marry first, but heart follows no convention and we bow down to that. You can marry Hidamba. Nobody else wants to have anything to do with her. So, Hidambi stays with Bhima for a year and bears a child who is completely bald when he is born, hairless on his head. So they call him Ghatotgata. Ghatotgata means pot-headed. His head is like a pot and is a huge baby. And later on he comes in very handy in the battle because he is of enormous strength and a great warrior he becomes. Then Kunti sees that Bhima is getting too domesticated by his wife. And she knows, if he goes this way, the brothers will get separated. The brothers get separated, they will never get the kingdom. So she puts a stricture, you cannot live with this Rakshasa woman, she's not a Arya, you cannot live with her. She should live away from us. And she removes Bhima and the 4 brothers from the forest and takes them away to a small town called Ekachakra. There a certain incident happens. Nearby, a cannibalistic being established himself near the town and started ravaging the city and picking up people, animals and whatever that came his way and eating it up. So the town council made a deal with him that once a week they will send a cartload of food. Along with the cart goes 2 bullocks and a man. So the food and the man is a desert. So it was agreed every week they will send this cartload and he will not attack the town, he will spare the people, rest of the people. So within the town they came to an arrangement that every week it is the turn of one family to cook the food, a cartload of food, 2 bulls and a man from the family to go to the cannibal who was living close by. His name was Bakasura.
இந்த ஊரே மயானமாக இருக்கு. எல்லாம் அந்த குகையில் பதுங்கி இருக்கும் அரக்கனால்தான். அவனுக்கு தினமும் ஒவ்வொரு வீட்டிலிருந்து உணவு எடுத்துச் செல்ல வேண்டும். கணக்குப்படி இன்று நம் வீடு. நான் என் மகனை அனுப்ப வேண்டும்.
என்ன? உங்கள் மகனை அனுப்ப வேண்டுமா? அவன் சிறுவன்.
என்னால் என்ன செய்ய முடியும் அம்மா? எல்லாம் எங்கள் தலைவிதி.
கவலைப்படாதீங்க மாமி, விதியை நம்மால் மாற்ற முடியும். நான் என் மகனை அனுப்புகிறேன்.
என்ன? உங்கள் மகனையா? அதை என்னால் அனுமதிக்க முடியாது. நீங்கள் என் வீட்டு விருந்தாளி. இது என் தர்மத்திற்கு ஆகாது. அவன் உங்கள் மகனை சாப்பிட்டு விடுவான்.
ராட்சசன் என் மகனை சாப்பிட்டு விடுவானா? என் பீமனையா? பார்க்கலாம். பீமா!
அம்மா, அகோர பசியா இருக்கிறது அம்மா.
உனக்கு விருந்து காத்திருக்கிறது.
விருந்தா?
உடனே சென்று சாப்பிட்டு வா.
அப்படியே செய்கிறேன் அம்மா. பீமா! வாகனம் புறப்படட்டும்.
பவனருள்பவன் துணைவர் தமதோடு பருதி பதமுதலியவெலாம் சவல இடையினர் சொரிய நிறைந்தரு சகடு தனிலிரு பகடு தேவரும் எமதுயிர் அருளியன பல விதவு சொலபதிலேறிய
பீமசேனா! ஹோய்!
Bharatam Mahabharatam Dharma Adharma Sangharshanam Pakshi Prani Manava Cha Deva Dharma Adharma Panchalika Jnana Prabhasita Divya Jivam Sarve Sarva Mahamritam Sarve Sarva Mahamritam Bharatam So almost a year after the burning down of the palace of wax, the Pandavas knew that they had to get into the mainstream. How was on their mind, how to get back. If dead people, they've been presumed dead, if dead people go back, somebody will help them to continue the act. So they're cautious, they are planning how to get back. At that time, they're in the forest and they come near a lake and they want to drink water. And a Gandharva who claims who owns the lake calls Arjuna for a duel. Having known that Arjuna is a great archer, he said, "You duel with me before you drink water from my lake." This Gandharva, whose name was Angaraparna, after a fierce duel, Angaraparna was defeated and he became unconscious. Arjuna, as it was the dharma of the warrior, has to put him to death because leaving a man defeated is putting him to shame. So a Kshatriya usually does not want to live after he's been defeated, he would rather die. So Arjuna gets ready to behead him. Then Angaraparna's wife, Kumbinashi, comes and begs Arjuna, he does not belong to your clan, he is not a Kshatriya. He has no problems of being defeated. he does not have to die. And as a wife, I'm begging you, please spare his life, because his dharma is not yours, nor your dharma his, so he need not be killed. So Arjuna spares his life, and for this, when Gandharva comes back into his consciousness, he offers many gifts to Arjuna, including 100 horses and other things which a Kshatriya values, and he tells them 100 stories of wisdom. Out of these 100 stories, we will pick one which is significant for the Pandavas and their future. Angaraparna narrates a story of Vasishta's son, the sage Vasishta, the legendary sage who plays a very important role in the Ramayana. His son, Shaktri, was traveling through the forest and he came to a stream which had a narrow bridge to cross. When he was about to cross, a king, whose name was Kalmashapada, came upon the bridge, and one of them had to make way. As the king had entered the bridge before Kshatri, he said, I came on first, you make way for me. Kshatri, who is full of pride about who his father is, he says, you make way, I'm a Brahmana, I am higher than you. And before anything can happen, Kshatri, who is too full of pride, curses the king and says, may you become a Rakshasa. King becomes a Rakshasa and immediately he has cannibalistic tendencies within him and he eats up Kshatri. So Angaraparna narrates this story, and Kshatri's son, Parashara, the sage Parashara, who is the father of Vyasa, when he grows up under his grandfather's tutelage, Vasishta becomes so despondent of having lost his son, particularly lost him because he empowered him with the ability to give boons and curses. He gave the wrong curse to the wrong man and he got eaten up himself. And when Parashar, his son, comes to know, he wants to take revenge. He wants to perform a yajna which destroys all the cannibalistic tribes in the land. Then Vasishta stops him and he says, this is no good. Your father cursed somebody and that curse ate him up. Now you are trying for revenge. This revenge will not breed anything good. It will lead to a spiral of revenging and avenging, and endlessly it will go on. You pursue what is valuable for you, don't pursue him. So taking this advice, Parashara becomes a great sage who fathers Vyasa, and Vyasa plays an important role in the whole story of Mahabharata. Having told this story, Angaraparna told them this story because he saw the rage and hatred in the hearts of Pandavas. They've been many times been deceived of many things. Above all, many times attempts have been made upon their life, and particularly this time a blatant attempt on all five of them, including their mother. Their raging within themselves were revenge. So having an insight into their hearts, he told them this story and he told them, get yourself a priest, get yourself a wife, get yourself your own land and build your own kingdom. Don't waste your time and energies in revenge. You can be kings. Having heard this story, they become little more cautious about their revenge, but their revenge doesn't leave their hearts. So first thing is, they will get themselves a priest. Devala Muni's son, Dhaumya, will be in a nearby ashram they will go and plead with him, please become our family priest. In Dwapar Yuga, a family priest was very important because of the power of yagnas. Constantly yagnas needs to be performed for every occasion. There was a ritual to be performed and they found Dharmya a very competent and efficient priest who walked with them right through from that moment onwards. And then they heard that King Drupada of Panchala has called for a Swayamvara. We have already gone into what is a Swayamvara, that a princess is to choose her husband. To say something about Drupada, Drupada is the king of Panchala. And as a young boy, he studied along with Drona, with the sage Bharatvaja, who was Drona's father. So Drona's father, Bharatvaja, was a guru both for King Drupada and Drona. Both of them became close friends. When they were 13 years of age, one day, the boys were so close to each other, one day Drupada and Drona promised each other, whatever wealth, whatever we achieve in our lives, we will share it with each other. After their training was over, Drupada went back to become a king. Drona is the son of a sage, so he went out to make his own life and he couldn't make much of it. He got married to Kripi, who was Kripacharya's sister, and he bore a son whose name is Ashwatthama. He was called Ashwatthama because when he was born, he kind of laughed in such a way that it sounded like a horse. When the horse is happy, the sound that a horse makes, it sounded like that. So he was called Ashwatthama. And when the boy was young and he went out to play in the town and they were extremely poor, and the boy had never seen milk because they were so poor, the parents could not give him milk. Being pastoral societies, milk was almost like the staple food, but this boy was so poor, they had no land and no cows, so they had not seen milk. The boy has not seen milk. When other boys were drinking milk, he asked, what is it? So they suddenly realized this boy has not seen milk, and they mixed some rice dough in water, mixed it up and gave it to Ashwatthama and said it is milk. He drank it happily and he thought it's milk. So they all started making fun of him that this boy doesn't even know what is milk. So when Drona came to know about this, he became very, very angry and desperate. Then he remembered that his friend Drupada, who is now a great king, had promised him that he will share everything in half. So he went back to Drupada's court and he said, well, you remember the promise, you must give me half of your kingdom. Drupada looked at him. Many years passed by and he said, see, you are a poor Brahmin, you are incensed because of the insult that happened to your son. I will give you a cow, take it and go. If you want more, I will give you 2 cows, take it and go. What is this? A Brahmin coming up and asking me for half a kingdom? Drona said, I have not come for charity, I have come in friendship. We are friends. I am asking for half of your empire, not for a cow. I don't want charity from you because we are friends. Then Drupada said, friendship happens between equals. An emperor and a beggar cannot be friends. You can only take charity. If you want, take the cow, otherwise leave. So Drona swore there, this will be avenged. And he started burning for revenge. Because of this, he acquired the astras from Parashurama and came to Hastinapura and started training the Kauravas and the Pandavas in various martial arts. And when they achieved a certain level of competence and the Kauravas and Pandavas were eager to offer some kind of offering to their guru, the first thing that Drona asked for is, I want you to go and capture Drupada alive and bring him to me. So uncalled for, without any issue, the Kaurava princes and the Pandavas went and attacked Panchala, Kampilya, which was their capital. The Drupada's army or the Panchala army was not even ready. They didn't understand why are these guys simply coming and attacking without any issue. So when the Kauravas attacked, 100 brothers went to attack the city with great fervor. Pandavas stayed back and watched. When they realized they're being attacked, the common citizenry, the soldiers were not ready. Common citizenry, men and women, came out of their homes with kitchen knives and sticks and ladles and anything and everything that they could lay their hands on and fought the Kauravas and beat them back. The Kaurava brothers came shamed because they were beaten down by common people with kitchen knives and ladles. Then Drona said to Arjuna, it is you who has to offer the Guru Dakshina, you must get Drupada. So Bhima and Arjuna went, quietly slipped into the city, captured Drupada and tied him up, bundled him, brought him and laid him at Drona's feet. Drupada looked at Drona, it's his doing that these young boys bind him up and bring him as a prisoner. He's a great warrior himself. They bring him and throw him at Drona's feet. And now Drona says, now we cannot talk about sharing because we are not equals. You are lying before me as a slave. I am here and I have received you as a gift from our boys. I can do whatever I please, but I have been your friend, I will spare your life. For a Kshatriya, the worst thing that you can do is, you conquer him and tell him, I will spare your life. He wanted to do the worst thing to him. If he had killed him, he wouldn't mind. But telling him, I will spare your life is the worst thing to do. And that to a Brahmana telling him, I'll spare your life was the worst thing for him to happen. And he said, half of your kingdom is mine, the other half I will give it to you as a friend and I'll spare your life. Go and rule the other half. This part of the kingdom is mine. Drupada, burning in shame, burning in rage, burning with hatred, went back to his kingdom, head down, never able to lift it in front of his citizenry because he was taken like a slave and thrown at somebody's feet and now he has come back to be a king. That's not something that people accept. He prayed to Shiva and he said, I want a child. I want a child who will go and take revenge. Because now, once he's lost battle with somebody, he cannot call him for a duel. He's lost the right to call him for a duel. So he says, I want a child who will fight and conquer Drona. A child was born, but it was a girl. He couldn't believe this. He asked Shiva that, I want a child for revenge and a girl is born. How is this girl going to take revenge? So, from day one, he started dressing her up like a boy. He didn't want people to know that she's a girl. He started pretending that it's a boy, started training her as if she's a boy. This girl was Amba, reborn. Now, he not only wanted to take revenge on Drona, he wants to take revenge on the whole Kuru clan because it's these boys who captured him. So he wants to kill Drona and the Kuru clan. And the main aspect of the Kuru clan, the pillar of the Kuru clan is Bhishma. If you knock him down, the whole thing will collapse, he knows that. So because he wanted to revenge against the Kuru clan, when Shiva blessed him, Amba was born as Drupada's daughter. And all this happening, when he saw it's a girl and he is disappointed, he is training her as a boy, but he can't deceive himself, he deceived the world around him, but within himself he knows it's a girl. And at the age of 14, this Amba, who was then known as Shikhandin, disappears. They're distraught and look for everywhere, but she's gone. And she goes into the forest to train by herself because she's come of age and she wants to hide it. She does not want anybody to know that she's a girl. And seeing her plight, a yaksha in the forest whose name was Stunakarna helps her. He says, "I will give you manhood." And using his magical powers, he makes her into a man. He says, "This will be with you only to save you from the situations. But when real situations come, you will become a woman once again. It'll see you through." In the palace situations, in the social situations, in real terms you're still a woman. But Drupada is burning for revenge. He lives with a single-minded purpose. The only purpose in his life is somehow to bring Drona to shame and Kuru clan down. So for this, when he starts looking for somebody who can perform a yajna for him, which will bear him children who will be capable of defeating Drona and the Kuru clan. He knows who Drona is, he knows his capabilities, so he calls for a putra karma yajna and he gets Yaja and Upayaja, who are well-known tantrics of the time, to perform this yajna for him. They perform an elaborate yajna and 2 children are extracted from the fire. One is Drishtadyumna. When he prays, he asks, "I want one to kill Drona, I want a boy to kill Drona, and I want a girl who will divide the Kuru house." So they extract a boy and a girl from the fire. These two were not born of a man or a woman, they were born of fire, Drishtadyumna and Draupadi. And Draupadi is born. And now she's grown to a certain age and she and her brother Drishtadyumna were brought up once again with a single purpose. Her father from their very infancy went on telling them their only purpose of life is to take revenge on Drona and bring down the Kuru clan. So a great enemy is growing parallel to the Kuru clan. As the fame and struggles of the Kuru clan happening within themselves, a very formidable enemy is growing in the neighborhood. Drupada wants his daughter to be married to the greatest archer, the greatest warrior, so that they can take revenge. He is looking. He does not find anybody who can beat Drona. So when he comes to hear of all the exploits of Krishna, the battles that he fought, 17 times Jarasandha attacked Mathura. 17 times Krishna and Balarama beat them back. A great army was beaten back again and again with guile and valor. Though the Yadava army was 1/10 of the Jarasandha's army, repeatedly they beat them. 18th time, Jarasandha gathered few other kings from the west. The kingdoms mentioned are in the present region of Afghanistan, and kings from that region came to help Jarasandha, and armies surrounded Mathura from all directions. So Krishna saw, if he continues to fight, now an overwhelming military force is surrounded Mathura and Yadavas will be annihilated. So he convinces the whole population for an exodus. They leave Mathura and travel 1700 kilometers down to Dwaraka. Hundreds of people die in this exodus, traveling through Rajasthan, which is a desert, they go down to the south of Gujarat, which is Dwaraka, and they want to build a city there. But when they come there, Krishna sees there is a well-built city in a small island in Dwaraka. So he feels strategically it is best that they go into this island city. This city was ruled by a king, Revata, and King Revata had a daughter whose name was Revati. Because Revata wanted to acquire, he belonged to Satyuga, when human beings were much bigger in their physical stature. And he went to Devaloka to ask for a boon. That is, he wanted a great Deva to marry his daughter, a Deva to be born as a Kshatriya and marry his daughter. He went to ask for a boon. Because of the time difference between this Bhuloka, the planet, and Devaloka, because the time in Devaloka is very different than what it is. Let me tell you a little joke. It happened. A man from Texas went to heaven, got an appointment with God, and asked God, "God, is it true that what is 1,000,000 years for us is just one moment for you?" God said, "Yes, son, it is so." Then he asked, "God, is it true? What is $1 billion for us is just a penny for you?" God said, "Yes, my son, it is so." Then he asked, "God, can I have a penny?" God looked at him and said, "Wait a moment." So this happened to Revata. Because of this time difference, he went and asked, a Deva should be born as a Kshatriya and he should marry his daughter. Because this short visit of a day was 1,000,000 years on the planet, when he came back, yugas had rolled over many times and human beings had become much smaller in stature, and he found Revati was too big for any man. So, they did not know what to do. So Revata was in despair because there is no man on the planet for his daughter. Then Krishna and Balarama came. Balarama was of immense size. In spite of that, he had to look up at Revati because she was so tall. So Balarama used a plough always. He was a farmer, and also when he fought battles, he used his plough only as a ploughing plough, as a weapon. So he used his plough and pulled Revati down. With Krishna's help, he reduced her size, and strategically Krishna got Balarama married to Revati and they occupied Dwaraka. The Yadavas moved into Dwaraka and Krishna went about clearing up the surrounding small kingdoms. Effortlessly, he conquered all of them. Wherever conquest was needed, he conquered. Wherever he could include them by marriage, he married. He married dozens and dozens of princesses so that peace was made. You need to understand, those days, because people held a blood relationship as the most important relationship, the only way you could make peace with somebody is create a blood relationship. That you give your girl to somebody else, that means you can't make war with them anymore. So he went about this, and he also abducted Rukmini, defeated Rukma, who was a great warrior, and defeated Shishupala, who was a very great… he was known as the bull of Sheri, and he defeated him in a duel. Because of all this, and he also had shamed Jarasandha once in a duel. because of this, his valor and his skill as a warrior had spread across. So Drupada thought, Krishna is the best man for his daughter Draupadi. And he sent word to Krishna that, I want you to marry my girl. Krishna tried to dodge it. He tried to dodge it in many ways, but now the problem is, if you refuse, that will be an affront. That means he'll call for battle. So in a very tricky way, he avoided the whole situation, and because he did not want to marry Draupadi, he said, I am just a cowherd, how can I marry Draupadi? She is a queen. He married many other queens, but the scripture goes about describing the most beautiful woman on the planet. She was dark as velvet, but she is considered as the most beautiful woman, and the scripture says, when a woman is this beautiful, invariably she will cause problems. She is so beautiful, invariably people will fight over her, countries will be divided, brothers will fight, things will happen. Draupadi comes for marriage, and Krishna somehow convinces Drupada the best thing is to arrange a Swayamvara. But Drupada says, I don't see any warriors who are capable of doing this. But Krishna says, a woman like Draupadi, who is so fiery, should make her own choice. You should not choose for her. And he says, let it not be a simple Swayamvara. Swayamvaras are of many kinds. This is a contest-based Swayamvara. We'll set up a difficult contest. Whoever wins the contest will be chosen by the girl, still she has a choice. So Swayamvara is called for. Krishna's guru Sandipani himself devises a contest. The contest is, they create what is called a Matsya Yantra, that means a fishy machine. This is a simple machine which is revolving with a fish, with a wooden fish on the top. It is going round and round. Here there is a pool of oil which reflects that. They are supposed to look at the reflection, and the archer should shoot the eye of the fish, not the fish, the eye of the fish. So such a warrior or such an archer will get a chance to have the princess, but still it's her choice. So after much thinking and Krishna's pushing, Drupada agrees for this and announces Swayamvara. And the five brothers also hear of the Swayamvara. So does every Kshatriya in the Bharatvarsha. Just about everybody who is in the Kshatriya clan is invited, so that Drupada gets the bravest and the most skillful warrior as his son-in-law, because the purpose of this marriage is revenge. He wants Drona dead, Kuru house pulled down. All the warriors arrive, including Duryodhana and all the Kauravas, Karna. But the Pandavas are still in disguise. Nobody knows that they are alive. Krishna sent his spies and found out that it was the Nishada woman and her 5 children who were burnt. So, he knew that they're not dead, but he did not know where they were. But he knew that once this news goes, they cannot resist, they will anyway come. So he also arrived with his Yadavas, because he knew there could be trouble. So he came with his warriors surrounding the Swayamvara, just in case trouble breaks out, to control it. Everybody wants the hand of Draupadi. One thing is, she's an incredibly beautiful woman. Another thing is, Drupada is a very powerful king. It's a huge empire. Everybody wants that alliance. So when the contest comes, I will skip the details of this, there's a whole lot of things happening there. Everybody comes one by one trying it out. Nobody can even… many of them cannot even string the bow because it's a trick bow. It's an occult bow that you must know how to string it. Otherwise, most people did not even know how to string it. So those warriors who managed to string it couldn't shoot straight, looking at the reflection with a fish which is rotating. Duryodhana is not the kind who wants to lose. So he sent out his brother, Dushyasana, to try it out. Try it out, but don't win, because I want her. So Dushyasana went, a very proud man and also a brave warrior. He went with great pride and tried to string it, he couldn't even string it. Then Duryodhana kept himself back because he didn't want to go and shame himself. Then Karna stepped in, with among the last of the warriors. He stepped in with the swagger, effortlessly strung the bow and just got ready to shoot. Arjuna saw who he is and he knew he can knock the fish down. His reputation is that he is a Sutaputra. Duryodhana has made him a king and included him, but still he is a Sutaputra. Krishna saw, this is not good. This is not according to the script. But he is competent enough, he will knock it down. And Karna is super confident that he will knock it down. So every time a warrior came, Draupadi glances at Krishna because she wants to know if this is the guy she should choose. She's leaving the choice to him. So every time a warrior comes, Krishna is smiling, enjoying the whole show. And she knows this is not the guy, this is not the guy, this is not the guy. Anyway, they didn't even shoot on the thing, but even if they do not shoot, she can still choose if she wants. So Krishna mildly indicating this is not him. When Karna came, Draupadi looked at Krishna, Krishna closed his eyes. He said, I'm afraid for you, because this is not according to the script, but this guy can do it. When he came close, Draupadi was standing there with the garland. Her brother Dushadumna was standing there in a protective way. So she said it loud enough for it to be heard by Karna. She said, I don't want to marry a Suta. She did not even say Suta Putra, she said, he's a Suta. So Drushtadumna said, my sister does not want to marry a Suta, so don't take the trouble of even trying. Shamed among all this assembly of people, Karna put his head down but gave her a vengeful glance, said, when my time comes, I will not spare you. And he went back and sat down in great shame. Then a young Brahmana stood up and he came forward and said, now that none of the Kshatriyas have been able to win the contest, can I make it? Then Drishtadyumna was confused how to allow a Brahmana to compete. He looked at Krishna. Krishna dropped something that was in his hand and bent down. Drishtadyumna said, yes, if you wish to compete, you may compete. But all the warriors have failed, what are you going to do? If you wish, you can do it. This Brahmana came, did a pradakshina for the bow. 3 times he went around the bow, prostrated before the bow, as if it is the culmination of his destiny. Picked up the bow effortlessly, strung it and looked at the reflection 5 chances were given for any warrior to hit the eye of the fish. He shot 5 arrows in such a quick succession, a line of arrows from the eye down. It went into the fish, split the fish into 2, and the fish fell down in 2 halves. The roar went up, one in appreciation. All the brahmanas and the non-kshatriyas who have come just to see the contest, they roared in appreciation. But the kshatriyas roared in anger, "This is not fair. How can a princess be given to a brahmana? Now a brahmana has won the contest and we cannot kill a brahmana because according to the Arya dharma you can't kill a brahmana. But it is Drishtadyumna who allowed this. Let us kill him." They all drew their swords. Immediately Bhima, Nakula, Sahadeva and Arjuna, all of them stood up to fight. Bhima plucked a small tree in his hand and smashed everybody down who came towards Drishtadyumna. Arjuna picked up the bow and created havoc around him. Then the Yadavas moved in to control the whole situation. It got controlled and Draupadi put the mala around Arjuna. Arjuna and the 4 brothers took Draupadi back to where Kunti was and she was cooking. As usual, whenever as brahmanas they went out to beg for their food, when they came back, they always placed it at her feet and it was for her to divide the food, and always she divided it into 2 halves, one for Bhima, another for the 4 brothers. They walked in and said, "Mother, see what we have brought today." She said, "Whatever it is, share it among yourself." Then they were asked, "Mother, it's a woman. We have brought a princess." She turned back and looked at Draupadi. She was the most stunning creature she had ever seen. She looked at her and said, "It doesn't matter. I told you share and that's it." They were completely confused. Above all, Draupadi was aghast that she was happy that, this brave warrior had won her in the contest, but now this mother says share, and the brothers didn't know how. So they came back to Drupada's palace where Krishna and Vyasa were there, and a debate arose. How can 5 men marry this one woman? They said, once our mother wills it, whatever it is, even if it is death, that is what we do. We can't go back on that. If you want, you take your daughter back. But Arjuna cannot marry her separately. Either all 5 of them marry or we will give back your daughter to you. That would be a complete insult, that somebody marries her today and today evening they're returning her. That would be a complete insult for Drupada, but he is confused. Krishna doesn't say anything. With a big smile, he looks at the ceiling. Everybody tries to engage him in the debate, but he starts studying the tapestry of the palace ceiling, never says anything. So Vyasa, the sage, chips in. She falls at his feet and says, "You are a wise man, tell me how is this? How can they get me into this kind of a mess that I have to marry 5 men? What is this? This is not fair, this is not dharma, and I will not do it." So Vyasa says, there are 3 options in front of you. Now you can marry only Arjuna and he will take you away. He will be in love with you, obviously. But after some time, he will resent that because of you, he had to leave his brothers and his mother. Resentment will slowly turn into bitterness. Bitterness will turn into hatred over a period of time. He said, this is how most couples live. Because initially it's a big love affair, But this love affair, somebody insists that you must separate yourself from your mother and your brothers and whatever your clan. It happens at a certain stage in life. Unknowingly, unconsciously, the man developed resentment, but because of this woman, he had to move away from everything. And especially for Arjuna, this will be 100% true. So this is your choice. You can enjoy a short span of a great love affair with your husband, and then he will invariably resent the separation and he will hold you responsible for that. Or you can reject this whole thing. You have the right to reject and say, I reject this marriage, go back to your father. But then, nobody else is going to marry you. No great warrior is going to come forward to marry you because you will be seen as charity. You will not be seen as a prize. You will not be seen as something that they want to have. You will be seen as something that's been given to them, they will not take it. You may remain a maid for the rest of your life and remain in your father's house, where your brother will resent it after some time. Or you marry these 5 men. These 5 men, if they stay together, they will make their own destiny. They will rule this land. He actually says they will rule the world. If these 5 men stay together, they will rule the world, and you can have the pride of keeping them together because you are their common wife. This is the choice you have. These are the 3 options. Choose whatever you want. Considering the choices, overwhelmed, she falls down faint. Then they revive her. Then Vyasa takes one more step and he opens up her vision into her past life. And he tells her, he makes her see that in her past life, the king of Vidarbha, who was known as Nala, nobody in India has not heard about Nala and Damayanti. Nala and Damayanti are fabled lovers, and he's the best cook on the planet. He's no more, unfortunately. So Nala and Damayanti, the love affair, is a huge fable in this country. Draupadi was Nala and Damayanti's daughter in her previous life. As a young woman, she prayed to Shiva. Looking at her penance, Shiva appeared. He was in a slightly inebriated state and he was generous. She saw Mahadeva appearing in front of her and she said, this young girl, "Oh Mahadeva, I want a husband. I want a just husband. I want a strong husband. I want a brave husband. I want a wise husband. And I want a very handsome husband." Shiva said, yes, yes, yes. 5 times. When she had this peep into her past life and she saw it is her own doing, that she asked for 5 husbands, not knowing. She wanted a husband with all these qualities, but unknowingly in her excitement she asked for 5 husbands and it was granted by Shiva, and that's how it became. She married the 5 men. How to make this arrangement? So Krishna stepped in and made this arrangement. He said, let it be so that you be with one brother for 1 year and next year the next brother. During that 1 year, even inadvertently, if another brother steps into your bedroom, he has to be exiled for 1 year. He must disappear into the jungles for 1 year. He made this arrangement and the Pandavas were united in a way that they could not be broken. They have a common wife and Draupadi demanded, it does not matter, you can take as many wives as possible outside this arrangement, but nobody ever lives in the palace. So this became the unifying force, the binding force to keep the 5 brothers together and work towards the fulfillment of their destiny of ruling the nation. And now, armed with the alliance of Drupada, they went back to Hastinapura. Now the Kauravas, raging and raging, more and more shame. Above all, the dead have come alive. How the hell did they come alive? They were dead for sure, their bodies were found, there were no DNA tests, rituals were performed for the dead, they even cried and wasted their tears. And here they are back with a bang, and now with an alliance with Drupada, you cannot touch them. They are no more just 5 people. Now they are formidable foes, and they got Draupadi. And on top of it, they won the contest. None of the Kauravas could do it. Karna came back shamed. Now their rage multiplied. Yudhishthira came back, now with a wife and a priest, and he is laying claim for his position as a king. So Dhritarashtra could not help it, he had to coronate him as the Yuvaraj or the next king. From there, troubles multiplied like never before. Now it was battle inside the palace. Swords were not drawn, everything else happened. The nation started suffering because there is such a big power struggle going on within the palace. Nation was not administered properly, things were going bad. Bhishma saw this and he thought, this needs putting his foot down because he is the regent, he can decide. So he said, let's coronate Yudhishthira. There's no point keeping him as Yuvaraj, let's make him the Maharaj, it'll fix it one way or the other. And let's give Duryodhana and others important positions. Duryodhana cried in shame when this was announced. He went to his father and raged and threw tantrums. He said, you brought me up as a future king, now you are asking me to be a slave. You want me to take orders and instructions from these people who came from jungles. And above all, you want me to take instructions from Bhima. He will taunt me and shame me 1,000,000 times every day. I will kill myself. So Duryodhana is threatening suicide. But Bhishma is putting his foot down and saying, Yudhishthira will be the king. This must be settled because the nation is suffering because of this power struggle going on in the palace. Nothing is being taken care of. Though Dhritarashtra doesn't really like this, he has no choice because he is only king by name, he is blind and he cannot do anything. Whatever Bhishma says, it is his word which always goes. He is the elder, he is the regent, he is the wise man, he is the warrior. It's him that everybody respects. And it is he who can really give orders when things come to a deciding phase. So he accepts that Yudhishthira will be the king. But Duryodhana starts tormenting his father. He says, no way, I'm going to kill myself. The rest of the brothers say, we will go back to Gandhara, that is their mother's place. Gandhara was approximately located in the current Himachal Pradesh. They said, we will go into the mountains. Duryodhana says he'll kill himself. Dhritarashtra does not know what to do. All he knows is he wants his sons to be kings. In the meantime, Yudhishthira has spent so much time with sages, he's acquired all the scriptures and dharmas and karmas and everything, too many rules and things in his head. Always, every second word is dharma for him. He wants to be truthful, he wants to be straight, he wants to be just. He never want to make one unjust decision in his life. So when in the court, when Bhishma announces that Yudhishthira will be the king and everybody celebrates, Yudhishthira stands up and says, Yes, I will take the responsibility of doing everything that I need to do, but as long as Dhritarashtra is alive, let him be the king, I will take orders from him and let Duryodhana have equal kingship. After all, he is my brother. Duryodhana and his brothers, their eyeballs pop out. They say, what? Did we hear it or is it audio problem? Then everybody confirms, yes, that's what he said. He said, let Duryodhana have equal kingship. They thought, what is this bitter struggle that's been going on, now when it's given to him, that man says, I will share it equally. Because he thinks that is the dharma, that is justice. Bhishma looks desperate. He throws up his hands. I have borne this nation for so long, for 3 generations. He has brought it through not being a king. He is a brahmachari, but has all the burdens of families, all the pains of the family, never knowing any pleasure of the family, but every pain of the family he has suffered, more than anybody for 3 generations. And now, when he tries to finish it for the first time, there's going to be a legitimate king for the Kuru dynasty after Aspan, after Shantanu. There has not been a king. Now this man does this. The brothers, the 4 brothers rage within themselves, but they have taken a vow. When the father died, when Pandu died, they have taken a vow from today, Yudhishthira is like their father, the eldest brother. Whatever he says, that will be the law for them. In this generation it's going away, otherwise this has been the law in this country. As long as the father is alive, whatever he says, the sons will simply follow. This is very reverse of what Sigmund Freud has been talking about, Oedipus complex. This is very reverse of that. It is always the older generation exerting what they want, right from Puru, Santanu and continues with everybody. It is slightly reversing with Duryodhana, otherwise it is always the older generation exerting their thing. So they took Yudhishthira as their father. Whatever he says, they'll go by that. But Bhima burst out. He couldn't bear it. After all this struggle, now there is a chance that his brother will be the king and they will be there as the power, and this man gives it up. Bhima walks out of the court because he cannot say anything against his brother. He cannot fight him. He just gets up and walks out of the court. In the meantime, Bhima he's happy. He eats well, he's happy, he likes to fight with somebody. He is not like one man, he's like many, he's all over the place, unending energy, unending appetite, unending everything. So he falls in love with a woman who is known as Jalandhara in Haryana, Valandhara in UP, Balandhara in Bengal. You know the story. This is a problem in India, okay? From New Delhi to Calcutta if you travel, if you have a name which starts with, let's say you are Vasudev, by the time you reach Calcutta, you will become Basudev. If you reach Tamil Nadu, you will become Vasudevan. Here the end part they change, there they change the beginning. So her name traveled like this. Her name is Jalandhara here and Bhima fell in love with her. Jalandhara is the sister of Bhanumati, who is Duryodhana's wife, asking for trouble. Duryodhana's wife's sister, Bhima falls in love with her. A whole lot of incident, how he conducts his love affair, I will not go into that. But one particular incident where he wants to meet this Jalandhara, Valandhara, Balandhara Not possible in the palace. So he sends a note to her, he wants to meet her in the gymnasium. Because that is where he spends most of his time. Every day he is working out, building his muscles and, practicing his mace fighting. That's where they spend their time mostly. So he invites her, and in secrecy, in the middle of the night, she comes and meets him in the gymnasium, in Balia's gymnasium. Balia was a great wrestler who was over 100 years of age. And his son, Someshwar, was in charge of all the training for all the princes, all the royal clan that was there. And he meets Jalandhara there and he's escorting her back. Then he notices a spy is following. Then he catches hold of the spy and wants to smash his head. Then the spy begs him and says, "Please spare my life, I will tell you something that you will be interested in." So holding him by the neck, and the spy's legs were no more on the ground, he held him up like this and asked him, "Okay, what is it that you got to tell me?" The spy said, "Right now, I'm telling you, they're doing something. Within a month's time, you will be dead for sure." "How is it?" he asked. "How is it that I'll be dead? It is you who is going to be dead within a minute." He said, "No, no, no. I will tell you, across the river, there's an Agori. I will take you there. Right now they are performing a certain yagna. For sure you will be dead. Let me see." So with the spy, Bhima went across the river, quietly took a canoe and crossed the river, and there was a Agori hut. Agori means a certain clan of mystics who still exist in this country, who are the fiercest possible yogis you can see and the weirdest that you can see. So there was a strange Agori on the other side of the river and nobody bothered him because he lived a very strange and odd life. They still live very odd lives that nobody understands who they are, what they are. It's a very, very different kind of cult. So Dushasana and Shakuni were sitting in front of the fire. Agori was chanting away wild mantras. So Bhima and the spy hid behind the hut and watched. After various incantations, a form appeared, a feminine form, a Devi, a goddess, a very fierce form of a goddess appeared. And now Agori, who was in a trance, asked Dushasana and Shakuni, "What do you want? Now the Devi has come, what do you want?" So Dushasana said, "We want Bhishma dead." The Devi said, "Not possible, because he has the boon that he can choose his time of death." Then who else? They said, "We want Krishna dead." Devi said, "Not possible. He is an avatar. He will not die according to your will, he will die according to his will." These are two key elements. If these two die, everything will be in their hands. Then who? They looked at each other. Shakuni said, "Bhima." Dushasana said, "I want Bhima dead." Before Agori could do the needed work, Bhima picked up the hut and threw it into the fire, and the whole yagna broke up. And the Agori himself caught fire in this accident that happened, that he was pushed into the fire and he caught fire. And the Agori just sat down in cross-legged posture and he burned without uttering a scream, without saying anything. Simply he sat there with his eyes open and his body burned itself into ashes. The yagna was broken. A strange being, even Bhima was terrified, but more than anything, Dushasana and Shakuni were so terrified, they ran away from the place. Then, this is a time to thank the spy. So, they went back to the canoe and Bhima got into the canoe, picked up the spy by his neck and drowned him in the river. because he didn't want them to go back and tell them what had happened. And with this done, Hastinapur was ready, highly inflammable, ready for the whole city to catch fire. Yudhishthira is the real king, but he will take instructions from Dhritarashtra, and he is sharing his power with Duryodhana, which is a horrible situation where nothing will happen.